All right, everybody, we're live again. Welcome. It's Friday, 10 a.m. Central European Time. And today we are going to be doing very fun things with databases because databases are your friend. Um, if you've been following along, we're at the stage that we have a game that can use an in memory database and that we can just talk to. Um, if you follow the channel, you would have seen that I've also posted a video about getting our application onto the Heroku cloud. Um, and the current state of it is that we have a game in the Heroku cloud, Heroku app, buildfunthings.herokuapp.com. Um, and it actually works. You can just do the game. It's cool, right? We did a lot of things. We minified the source code. We uploaded it. It's actually being pushed through a GitLab continuous integration node. So when we do a check-in on master, it will automatically push the code onto Heroku. So that's something that is very nice. And if you look at the Heroku app right now, you see that I installed a add-on, and this add-on is the Postgres database. And something went wrong. Maybe it works. And that's the cat. Hi, cat. Here you see that we have a Postgres database. It is available to us in the environment as a environment variable called database URL. And I already went and I created a environment variable in our own profile. So did I install Postgres? No, not really. I did not. What I did was to use Docker and Docker Skypematic to install a Postgres Docker instance. That way, the cat is very active right now. One modification I made here is that within settings, the ports, I set the binding to be the same port. If you have lots of Docker instances, you want to have multiple ports probably, but for now, for us, this is fine, and that allows us to use Postgres the same way we would if we have a Heroku version. So when we read this environment variable from our code using the environment library, it will be the same as it would be on a Heroku instance, but a Heroku will have a separately mounted Postgres database. So that's awesome. I already started the REPL with this information, so we can say env database URL, right? And it will actually be the same here. It's kind of exciting because I don't know if it will work without the password. Because I installed my own Heroku instance without a password. I complained about it a little bit in the Docker logs, but that's fine. So using a tool called pgadmin4, which is free to download, I connected to this database, and there is a schema. It's public. It has some tables. Right now, I added some. We will, because I tried to work with it a little bit, try to get a sense of it. So we will just remove it. Oh, go away. Probably drop this, drop that, go away. Trying to figure out how the uses something. Very good. Trying to figure out how the tool works so I don't make a complete fool of myself when I do this. So it's nice, it has some insights here, it's all nice and dandy. The Postgres database on this side, it's a free instance, so up to now we've been using freely available tools that we can use. There is actually, I don't know if it's here. All right, here it says a limitation. The free tool is the free database limited to 10,000 rows, which is absolutely nothing if you have some large data sets. But for us it will suffice. So we have a free instance running our software, and we have a free database. So we have this entire stack is totally free. We can get used to it. We can play around with it. So that's good. So what do we have here? Our local instances, they're all good. Actually, on the Heroku website, it talks about the connection pooling with Clojure, which is valuable information that we should use. And what I want to use are two tools to actually get into the database, because you don't want to deploy your application and then do manual changes to your database, right? You want to have that automated, because automation is king. What that means is that any modifications to the schema, then we would have to have some mechanism to add those to the database. Well, there's this thing called Migrators, and what it does, it migrates all the things, right? So that's an awesome little tool, and it allows you to create database migrations. So from version 1 to version 10,000 something, you can add and alter and insert data based on a simple format, and it goes along with in the line of reading files which have a timestamp, which are unique, and it will keep track of which files it already applied. And then whenever migrate is up, init migrate rollback up is called, it will, there's an actual description here somewhere, run up for the specified migration IDs, will skip any migration that's already up. And there is also a migrated score migrate run up for any migrations that have not been run. So if we modify our application to actually have something that will run database migrations, and we add that to our entire system, we will be able to check in new migrations, have a completely tested system, and then in our production environment, once it gets rolled out, it will actually update our database. Which sounds, for us at this time, it is a good idea. If you have a very large system with many dependencies on the database, it might not be a good idea. You want to have that more isolated probably. But for us, it's a good idea because we don't need to do much. So what we can do is create database tables and then add some data. We don't have a lot of data, so that will be fine. Where do we add this? If you think about it, you want to have it as part of your system. You want to have it only in certain conditions. When you're testing, you don't want to depend on the database. If you are in development, you want to have different settings maybe. So what comes to mind is to actually add it as a component. A component seems like a logical place, because then you can say like, the database depends on the migrations, the API or the web server actually depends on the database, so our system will be in a functional state once the migrations are done, the database is connected, etc., etc. And it's also very interesting because we get to a point where we have a resource that is actually shared between several components, so that actually should be a component on itself, and that's the database connection, or more specifically the database pooling. And my cat is asking for some attention. So we should have something that is the connection pool, and that connection pool will be, if we go to our system, that connection pool will be shared by the DB and the migrations. So I think that the first thing to do is to actually start with creating a database connection that can start and stop itself. I don't think there's actually something to stop, right? Using the connection pool. You have to excuse the cat, he's very unmannered. He thinks he owns the world, which is probably what every cat thinks, I think. So this connection pool that has many things, the inserts, here we go. Um, well, it seems to be just to be a database spec. So when we started, what builds it? It's a make spec based on the database URL. We need to actually split those. It's very useful to have this below. Add the following to retrieve the database URL from the environment. Well, we already know this, right? Cat, sit still, man. And then it says this function attempts to get the database URL from the environment. Well, we can use our environment for that. This is useful for local development. Okay, we will attack that from a different way. Now add the following function which parses the database. Alright, so we have to rip up the URI to its components so we can do the make data source spec. I wonder if there's something to actually start stop. I don't think so. So our component will be quite easy. So what shall we do? I think that the first thing we should do is we need a schema to actually query something. So we will build it up from the point that we start with the migrations, then add the database stuff, and then change our in-memory database to be the Postgres database, right? I think that will be a good attempt. And I'm wondering where my coffee is. My coffee is actually downstairs. So no, we'll do it with water. So let's first start with the migrations. There's actually a plugin for Leiningen as well to do it, but we'll not use that. We'll just run it from our migration, from our code. So we have this migradus 0832. In my window you see the font size is increased. I did not forget. And there's actually the command log, so if you want to follow along, never mind the cat. Migradus 0.8.32 31. It says 32 here and 31 here. Let's see. No, it says it's not found. Migradus 0831. It's probably not updated yet. So it's added to the dependencies, so that's very good. So we will actually have a component, and for now within the migradus we will actually create the database spec. We need a database connection, so maybe we should actually do the database connection first. Let's add the, we don't need to create a component yet because we can just pass the connection information down the component chain. Add a dependency org.closure/java.jdbc, which is the wrappers for the JDBC stuff from Java, which is very mature. Beautiful. And C3PO, there we go. I will trust you, Heroku. JDBC closure.jdbc-c3po, and we'll have version 0.3.1. Well, this one's already at 0.3.2, so we'll just take the latest. And oh, it's already added. Beautiful. I love it when it works. So it will already have downloaded it. So what do we do? In here, maybe we should make a namespace for components, but for now, let's make a component called data connection pool. Not closure, right? And is there a dev record? It's documentation. Oh, it's very funny. I never tried this. It's a snippet expansion. I talked about it in my cast about my Emacs configuration, and figure I would use it more. and see what happens. Uh, so now I find new things. A connection pool component. This would be the name, connection pool. There's nothing to pass along. And then we have a record in itself, and we want component. Oop, I do the include stuff. Beautiful. Expansion lifecycle, and then Control C, enter. What was add stubs, right? Add stubs. Bam! And then we do our rename component, and we know that we have a something that we want to pass along in a component over and over and over, and that is our DB spec. That's what they call it right here, right? Or spec to be exact. Let's call it spec, if you will. And then there's something interesting, because now we're going to pass this component along the component chain, and we want to retrieve this spec from the component. And so let's see how we can do that without being too much of making it ourselves too difficult. Maybe we can just call the colon spec on a component object that is being passed along. That should be fine, I guess. One thing it says here is to create a URI from the environment variable, and then to grab the username and password. And these are all defs. That's not something that we would like. So what we can say here, when we start, we do a let. What shall we do? Shall we give it a default? I don't think so. No. So let's say we have a URI, and we want to Java net URI. This is actually Java interrupt. It is basically calling the underlying JVM, and we call the constructor of URI with a value, and what we want is env, which we don't have at the moment. We need to add a require for environment and the key binding here for this is actually enter, which is totally not as well. We refer env, and that should be fine. I automatically just do tap and I jump into the first expansion of the add require, but when you want to do a refer, you only do one tap, and then you just type the namespace and do the refer. But database URL, and we can test this. There we go. And let's see, this would work like that. That gives us a actual URI object, which is very good. And what do we have here? Then it says, well, with this URI object, grab the username and password, which is user info, and then we do get user info on this URI object, as it seems right now, right? That's right here. There's actually some error handling here if it's nil. What we want to have happen if we use this component and it is not working as intended, it should actually stop the loading of the application, I guess, because we're dependent on this being run correctly. So we will apply the fail fast principle here. If something is not correct, just fail out. The application will not boot, but it will also not go into a state where you can actually not use it. I think that's more important than anything, really. And then it says do the URI, it says grab the user info and then split on the colon, and that will be, what will that be? Def user if nil, and so this user and password will be a list of the split. So this user info, we will say string, which is also magic and expansion, as you can see here, split, and we will split on the column. So let's see what that gives us. PRN user info. As this is fully contained, we should be able to do this. And currently it says Postgres because our password is nil. So that's exactly what we expected. One thing that I actually wanted to do for quite some time already is to add some proper logging. And there's a very good library from Tao Enso called Timber, which does logging out of the box and very neatly. So let's add that. Add a project dependency Tao Enso forks blah 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 Timber. Tao Enso Timber. And what version do we want? Something like 4 something. It's very mature library already, and it has some dependencies on different logging formats, but it's very lightweight. In itself, it does not have a lot of dependencies, but what I meant to say is that it can have dependencies on other things like SLF4J, etc. And what it allows us to do is when we add it to our project, DAO Enso Timber, see it has, you can log to Logstash, Postgres, Rolling Rotor. Logstash is very good if you have a Elasticsearch cluster where you want to log to. It's beautiful, but out of the box, if we call this log, we can just say log info, and if we, with the format as well, if we do this now, we can see that by just adding the dependency, we have this very nice logging, which is very useful within the Heroku instance, because then the logging starts to make a lot of sense. So this user info is not very, we retrieve a list and it has a username, password. I'm wondering if I can do it like this, log info, username, password. See what happens. It should be Postgres and nil, if you can read that. Yeah, you should be able to read it. You see it right here, right? So now we just have, we've taken care of this part and this part. And then it says make the spec, which is something that we want to add to our record here. And to do that, you see there's actually an import that we need to do, and I wonder if it is as simple as add import. Beautiful, right? com.m change. Is there any expansion possible here? No. v2.c3p0 combo pooled data source. Who makes up these names, right? And we want to add 2 requires the closure JDBC and the JDBC 3PL. Right. That's fine. Closure the java.jdbc, and we can call that JDBC. And the other one would be jdbc.pool.c3po, and we just call that pool. The nice thing, if you want to then change to something like Heroku or Hikari CP, all you need to change is this component, you plug it into your system, and you're all done, right? So we have this thing set up already, and now we do some beautiful copy and pasting, I guess. We just want to have this first part, so that's up to here. And there we go. So let's see what is required. This user becomes username and password. Password. I wonder if the nil part just works. Let's see, subname if equals not port db URI. db URI, we called that just URI. So it goes and rebuilds the entire path. Host port path. Alright, it's very interesting. I wonder what this brings us. So let's see if we can just evaluate it. Brings us a data source with an identity token, etc. Blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. Very good. I wonder what the subname is, right? Alright. So apparently we have a pool now. And what we want is to associate component spec becomes this pool, right? Beautiful. It's going off the screen quite a little bit, so let's be nice to myself. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. And then from that we return the component. So there's no need to do all this. And when we stop, what we want to do is to disassociate. You have associate and we have disassociate component spec, right? Is that the right format? Map key, right? So we have a map and a key, and our connection pool should be done. Right? Unmatched delimiter. Did something go wrong here? Probably did something horribly bad with the copy and pasting. There we go. That matches that. That matches that. That matches that. That matches that. Where did we miss it? Unmatched delimiter, unable to resolve symbol stop. So it seems that somewhere along this line we made a boo-boo. Let's do this, right? Just do this. It fails miserably as well. We have a error somewhere else. This seems fine. Maybe I made a bubble right here somewhere. There we go. I just made a bubble. It happens. No, I made another bubble somewhere. Well, this must be something very obvious. Oh, Mac key bindings. Let's just open up a def record, blah 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 blah. Starts up, right? That should be fine. Core has the env. It's just good morning, right? This is beautiful, right? Oh, I did not like the documentation part. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Well, definitely connection pool. There's no options to be. Well, we will pass the config options for if we want it later. Options. And then the expansion of the component lifecycle yields us with a map to connection pool config. Oh, really, I need to learn how to type. Oh. Right. And then within our system, we can say pool becomes a connection trivia dot connection pool there we go, pool new connection pool config options. And then one thing that we can already do is within the in-memory database, so we're dependent on pool, and then within the system we can say database. When we change it, we can then we will not forget. And if everything depends on the proper thing, so first the connection pool will be instantiated, then the database, and then the HTTP, and the database will not do much right now because it's the in-memory database. But then we can say here, if we add the logging as well, tau enso timber as log, log info starting database in-memory database with connection pool pool, and then we should see that the actual pool is being passed along, which is exactly what we want. So let's reload that, and what we see is that when we reload the application, it actually says starting in memory database with connection pool, trivia connection pool, which is awesome. So now we have our connection pool. So now we can start on our migration component. Migrations, right? So def record, no naming here, migrations, and it will actually need a pool, which formatting sucks. So it will actually need a pool here, component slash life cycle, add stops for it, components. Let's not forget this, right? And component. So now that we have a connection pool, it will be passed along to the migration component. The migration component will do stuff, and it will actually migrate all things. So how do we configure this, right? So the first thing is to actually include it, I guess, which is logical, migrate to score as migratus. Beautiful. And then there's a piece of configuration, and it says store database migrations directory init script, because we can initialize it with data, table, and database, which would actually be our spec, right? Because let's see, here's the subname indeed, and so I guess we can Yeah, right. Here we go. This basically is a database spec, which is the same as the pool. And I guess we can just pass it along. Let's give it a try. Let's see what happens, right? So first things first, and that is that it needs some configuration. So if we just say we want to let config becomes this part, and let's just for argument's sake say that we go do this, right? And we don't have an init script, and you can use the default thingy, and for this we can use the pool. Let's add the logging and so timber log, initialize the database using the init script. Well, we don't need to do that at the moment, and then we just call migrate on this configuration. So that's it. And there's no actual thing to store right now, so that's fine. So how do we see if this works? We want to first create a migration, generating migration files. It calls migrators create on the config with the create pool. So if we do this, right? If you remember, we can just say trivia dot connection pool slash new connection pool with empty configuration, because the URL will be taken from our environment, so this should yield a spec of nil. That's unexpected. That is unexpected. Trivia connection pool. This should just work here, right? This should associate a component with spec. Interesting, because we saw that it earlier did all the things that we expected it, so why would it not do it now, right? Because we need to go component slash start on it probably, right? All right. So we can just instantiate a component part, and then it will have a, can we just do spec then? Well, that seems to work. So if we do this, then we create a connection. If we go to our PG admin thingy, we should actually see connections starting. There's actually one session. So that would be the, either it's this thing or it is this thing, right? So let's see what happens. I guess the configuration part here is not so much for the database spec. It's very interesting to do this, but I think it's useless at the moment. Let's try this, because we want to just migrate this, create, and this is the config. And then we want to, what do we want to store? For now we want to have the answers, the puzzles, and then combine those two, right? Because the puzzle is actually an ID with a description, and the answer can be an answer for many questions. For example, Amsterdam can be the the answer to millions of questions about Amsterdam. So it would be insane to have that entry be replicated every single time. So we want to create a puzzle, a question, and then say these answers are relevant, and we want to indicate if that answer for that question is relevant, is correct. So we have a question, an answer, and a table that combines the two. So let's start with question, and now it should create a file. But where did it file? Where did it put file? Resources. Works as intended. So there's an up and a down, and the up would be it's create table question ID within Postgres. That would be a serial, I would think, and the text would be a varchar of 512. Why not? Primary key ID. Would it work like that? Let's give this a try in PG admin, because we will just want to see if is this the SQL window? No, I don't want to create table. Query tool. That sounds like something we need. Execute. It created it. Do we need to refresh? Refresh. Tables created a table called question. Is there constraints? Primary key constraints. There should be no triggers rules, and there's ID and text, right? So exactly what we want. We can delete drop this again. Goodbye. Very good. Move that out of the way. So this will actually be the up for our question. And then the down would be drop table question. So when we do a roll up or migrate up, it will actually create the database table question. And then when we do a down, it will actually remove it. So theory to practice within this, and so this is completely useless here. We will make a comment section here, because then we can reuse these statements later without having let's just say we're doing I deleted the DB spec, but once we do migrations, it should actually be there, right? Comments. So let's do a test run. Let's say migrate is up, and then the config would be to store it. It will basically say, hey, we're using a database, the migrations are in resources migration, so they will be actually part of our packaging, and we will use this database spec. So either this fails horribly or it works. Let's see. Exciting. It's very quiet. Let's see. Refresh. Is there a table? There's no tables. Seems to be no errors. I read this thing about SLF4J. There are hidden dependencies on SLF4J inside Migrator, so to avoid errors or silent failures, look at this. We have a null pointer exception. Blah 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 blah. Database connects, null pointer exception. So maybe the connection pool is not working. You will also need to add blah blah blah, or if you're using Timber, conf Zakami SLF4J. So let's add that to our project. Conf SLF4J Timber 032 0.3.2. Added it. Maybe it will show us more stuff now. I fail to see the correctness here. I wonder if we would just say env database URL. That would work. I think we have to wait for the failure to occur. Where is this thing? Localhost. There's the dashboard. There's actually transactions per second going on. There's idle connection, there's active connection. So I think there's actually a application there, but there's actually nothing going on right now. It fails miserably here. I guess it would be a timeout. Database connect. It says null pointer exception. This could be, well, let's give this a try, right? So, and add it. And environment core as refer and so now it should just have the Postgres development blah blah trivia. What we have there? Let's do the up, and it says a null pointer exception. Let's take this. See if we need to modify our result. I'm guessing it fails on this part right here. Still has a null pointer developments, localhost. Still null pointer trivia. This is actually the URL used to connect here, I guess. Properties, database trivia, PG default, security. Well, let's see what happens if we actually set some security on this. So there's actually, oh, maybe we should take a look at the logs, right? Oh no, this not does not seem to be the case. No. So earlier it says no password set. You should use Postgres SQL equals password. I guess they mean your own defined password. Container environment probe. We call this password 1 because that's how we roll. Now it should just do stuff. If we want to refresh this, it should stop. I would like to reconnect. Password 1. Database trivia does not exist. That's interesting, right? Maybe that's why it failed. I wonder why it's trivia. Why it does not exist. Password 1. Database connect database. Failure. Wonder why that is. It's still there. Yes, it's still there. It's beautiful. Um, how to debug this, right? What will happen here? This will run. Unable to resolve. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see what the internet says, right? Blah blah. Would it be just a suitable driver part that is? We did not add a Postgres library, of course. There we go. Postgres. PostgreSQL. Our I will just choose 4, I guess. We added the JDBC support. We added all the things needed for JDBC to work, but we did not add the actual driver of the database. So let's start with the beginning again. Cider REPL clear buffer, right? Let's see what happens now. Thinking it's an error. It seems to fail misbleed. Still null pointer exception. But let's not. Could also be the environment variable does not have the password in it yet. So based on this, it seems to work now. Or it's at nil, so schema migrations. So there's the schema migrations, and where's the query tool? Query tool. Select star from schema migrations. Did not do nothing. No. Run it again. It does nil. Well, we actually want to change the profiles, right? The profile should now say bam password 1, and that should work. In order to get that, we need to reset our REPL again. It's probably an easier way to do this. Let's not do that. So the migration failed, and that could be due to some form of error. Can we clear the logs? No, that would be very easy, but no. All right. Leave that as it is right now. Move that out of the way. Maybe we can be specific with what we want to migrate, which would be interesting. Boop. There we go. This would be our closure script REPL, which will compile and connect. Silly mistake to make. All right. So we have this. Maybe we need to be specific. I would have thought we could just do the up. Well, let's see if we need to migrations. See if what it does now, and based on the tool here. Maybe this is very smart. Let's see. Oh wow, it does much more. Abstract, find table DB. That's a lot better for testing a connection in response to an exception. Alright. Does not sound very good. Let's move the REPL over here real quick. Alright, so it's full of errors, right? mlog clients using SLF for JLogging, reading VM properties, the configuration file for resource identifier and change comments properties could not be found, skipping, and then the combo pooled data source. There we go. Resource not found at pad mchange the configuration file for resource identifier mchange comments properties could not be found. C3PO properties could not be found. Skipping could not be found. Mchange log. Alright. I guess we should have mchange log properties, right? Is there anything in the DB here? Properties. Mchange. Oh, that was horrible. Mchange log dot properties. Google.com. Mchange logs dot properties. No. C3PO. Configuration introduction. Via a simple Java property. It's never simple, right? Alright, maybe it is simple. Trivia resources c3p0.properties. Maybe the errors will go away, right? We'll see. See it on the next run. So what did it say anymore? It is registered. It's starting migration. Initial blah 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 blah. Oh, it's initializing the pool. Very good. The configuration file for resource mchange comments the properties could not be found. These things are throwing the errors. I used to hate these things in the Java world because you would end up being going through all the files, all the property files. If you were lucky, you would get some XML files. How to configure in the Java file, blah blah blah. I just want yes, I just want the file, man. Just give me a file. Example. Well, that was the library. Maybe the documentation has a beautiful documentation. Very good. Properties. No, maybe it will go away with the C3PO. Horrible. I wonder if we're just looking at something that actually went right now. No, it did not go right because it failed miserably. And migrations. Method JDBC4. Maybe we should have had the other Postgres. Leaving it alone. Ah, this is horrible. Blah blah blah. Debug, blah blah blah. This is all debug stuff, so we can safely ignore it. If it's not important, it's a debug. So ending, then there should be an error, right? Warn bad pool size. It's fine. I just want to know why my thingy stopped working, man. Would be warn error. Why would there fail? Migrations. Starting migrations. The config file. Yes, I don't care about the config file. Skipping. Beautiful. Bad pool size. Blah. Creating. No. Cider, REPL, clear. I added the file, so let's see if there's some method org get schema is not yet implemented. Maybe we should have the other blah 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 Hikari blah blah blah. Wonderful. Let's see. Maybe we should have a different which one do they say we should have? Yes, but we need to add it, right? Maybe there is a different. Let's look at the Maven repository. PostgreSQL. Postgres. Maybe we should have the 4.1, right? And it was moved. Oh, there we go. So we are foobar. We added this one while the artifact was moved itself. Now we need to close the REPLs and start them again. All right. Well, not bad for an hour's work, right? So we'll aim for about an hour and a half. So the maybe we'll get to the actual running of queries. That would be fun. But having a system to migrate your system up and down is very valuable as well. I would have just liked to be a little bit further along already. But for now it's going quite nicely. You can spend days trying to figure out why stuff doesn't work. And so far it's been good to us. And as I said, I probably jinxed myself. And we shall add Hey, go away. Go on. Add a dependency org.post. Yeah, we jinxed ourselves. What happened now is that the artifact repository cannot find it. There's actually a I've never tried this, so hotload, no, go away. Cider mode, closure refactor mode enabled. All right. There's actually something called hotload dependency. Can't find it. Right. All right. So we need to reset buffers again. That was not very smart of me. I should have done that in one go. But that's where it goes. Like. So the closure refactor thing. It works on a list of dependencies, and apparently the PostgreSQL part is not part of that. And as I'm saying this, I'm wondering if we need to. No, there's no other PostgreSQL specific things. So, migrations. What do you think? Will it work? Bets are up. Here we go. No suitable driver. That's interesting. Which would be in our connection pool. And within our connection pool, we say this class name org PostgreSQL driver. That's interesting. Over here it says database URL. Over here it says create a URI based on this format, which will be what our friends over in Heroku push to the environment. And this JDBC driver is kind of different, I guess. Well, maybe not. Let's quickly scroll through. We're looking for something that adheres to. Well, let's first try this, right? Connection pool. Well, that's not very useful. Let's not do that. There's actually a class name that is the driver of the database connection. So messages, REPL, I meant REPL. So this will be filled, the configuration. I'm just creating I'm gonna create an empty file here, right? Resources. Then we can actually find it and stop complaining. It says here could not load driver class org. And then we can, oh, hello chat. We can throw that into Google and it will tell us, but we downloaded a driver from the Maven repository. So let's open up the terminal. Where are you, my terminal? And jar tvf m2 repository org Postgres. Org.postgres. See, I think that's where it went wrong. It seems to not name depths, not have the. I would have expected, let's put it like that, I would have expected this to result in a download of a package. It should now fail. Org.postgres, yes. That's right. Now it downloaded it. That's interesting. Jar tvf. Yeah, that will work. I put m2 repository. Okay. So we had this interesting thing where the dependency was not downloaded. Why? Because I started a REPL. Line should have taken care of this. So, I'm kind of confused. But now it's there, and we should actually see something called driver. Grep driver. Right, or PostgreSQL driver. So now we should actually have a driver. It's very odd that it did not do that. But where did they? We could have looked around here for hours to find that it was not downloaded. So it's always good to check your local system. Lesson learned here. There we go. And so, famous last words. Migrations. And what did it do? Did something else. Close your REPL. What the crap is that? HCON. HOCON. I'm getting really annoyed by this dependency, C3PO dependency. Using tree as start, that's all fine, man. Create a new pool with username, masked pool. Did I just mistype? No. Oh. Blah blah blah. Starting migrations and then it creates a pool. The configuration file for identifier, blah blah. Bad pool size, that's fine. Creating new pool. Acquired test pool size 0. Target pool size 3. Desired target 1. Await available 0. Ending migrations. Alright. So let's see what happens when we run this. see what happens if we do it like this, that it's not one thing. What happens if we run it with the text? And you see that the connection pool is or is not doing anything at the moment. Checking, it's finished. It's connection pooling, I guess. Currently already have 12 connections. There we go. What we see here is actually our connection pool working, which is very good. So why is not our migration working? So apparently we're connected to the database. Yay for us. What's this? PGJDBC. Let's do a rollback. So it's starting and stopping. So why is there no SQL? 2016 09 30 10 41 28. Just like it. SQL 10 41 28 there. Let's see. Refresh. Now it did it. Dude, serious. Why? Because up should do everything, right? Create up. No! We should have called migrate. Oh, silly me. Now it should say nothing to do. And if we say, oh, read documentation, read documentation, roll back, forward, roll back, marking as complete. Now it should be gone. Restart it, migrate. It should be created. Beautiful. Now the question becomes, does it work with the spec as well? There we go, remove that. Right, remove that. Currently we have a question. Let's roll back. Let's migrate. Yes. Beautiful. All right. So it took quite a long time. And we have this very annoying messaging from the connection pool. I will take a look at it later, but for now I want to do this and I want to do this. What I want to do is an answer and question answer mapping table answer. So we'll put, it's 11:20. Let's see how far we get. Let's open up answer resources, migrations, answer up, create table answer. It has an ID which is a serial and a text. Varchar 128. Why not? Primary key ID. Right. And we will live on the edge, saying answer down, drop table answer. And we will create two things at once. Look at me. Create table question answer. Question ID is an int references question ID. So we tell this table to have a field which is actually a primary key in a different table. Which is exactly what we want. Answer ID is also int references answer. Need to learn how to type. We need to indicate if it's correct. Boolean default false. And there's no primary key, nothing. Should make keys for all these type things. So now we have some migrations. We need to do the up, down, drop table question answer. There we go. And if we go back to the migrations, currently it has this one table question, and if I typed fully without any form of errors, we should see migrations being run. Refresh. There we go. All right, apparently I can type. What program do I use? I use OBS. OBS is the Open Broadcast Studio, which is OBS, Google based, Open Broadcast software. I use the studio version. It's awesome. There's some settings for YouTube or Twitch or anything. You can just set it and it records. You can also do recording of just a session without streaming or just streaming without recording. So it's awesome. Give it a try. It's one of the best, I guess. It's highly recommended also on the Twitch channels. So give it a try. Give it a look. So we have some beautiful tables. Now we need to add some data, I guess. Let's make a new questions. Let's create a questions file, resources, migrations, questions. Insert into question ID text. Wonder if we can just do the set ID values 1. Is this working? And then the special syntax which is described on migrate or where are you? Not hexacle. Migrate is there we go. It's somewhere around here. Yeah. Oh. Look at documentation. See that you failed. Insert into answer ID text values 1. No. We can do many things, I guess. Values. What would be the syntax? don't think we'll get to this. PostgreSQL. Insert into many values. Just be comma. Values. And maybe 3 definitely for ask again and later. Doesn't make any sense, but yeah, it's fun. There we go, and then insert into question answer, question ID, answer ID, correct, values, question 1, answer 1, false. Almost. Question 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what happens here. So if we do a migration, it now should add some data. Migrations. What do you think will happen? Column, is this work? What did I do? Questions. Did I? Yes, I did. Replace everything. Double quote, do a single quote, do everything. There we go. Values. Typing is very difficult. Values. Are you Zytro Z? Are you gonna try and stream as well? That you're asking, or if you are you just curious? Apparently we have data. Let's select star from question. Yes, from answer. It's also good. Right. Question, answer. Should also be fine. Yes, that's all beautiful. So what we want to have happen now is based on the configuration. We want to actually do the migration itself. And here I did everything beautifully, right? So if we do a rollback, we should have no data. Just do this a step-by-step rollback. Right, so now this says maybe I'm not that advanced in programming. What's the worst that can happen, right? If you want to show people things, you can do a pre-recording of something you like and just post it. Doing stuff live is quite interesting, as you see, because I fail miserably most of the time. So yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Is the thing I think. We saw that the table says empty now, and we tell it when the component starts to do a migrate, and the system that we created creates the pool, and there's no migration yet. Very good that we check this out. Def new migrations, config options, right? And then it should have a map. Whatever. Should evaluate this. Migration config's not. It's not part of the other. Totally forgot that we're not map migrations. We did not even do all these things yet. So I think this video will be that that we have database migrations, and then offline I will add data to it, and then next week we can do the Hug SQL and then query data and combine our application with the database. So system migrations will be a component using it will use the pool as a reference, and it will be we need to add it trivia.migrations migrations new. We need to evaluate evaluate there we go. No. New migrations, and we pass it the options, which is quite useless at the moment, but we'll see. So what will happen? The component will start, pool will be created, which is our database pool. The migrations will be started, and I guess it would be a good idea to not give access to the data until the migrations are done. So we will pass the migrations as a dependency of DB. We don't do anything with it, but so far so good. And then in migrations, as we have the pool, it's not the pool, it should be the spec of the pool, I'm thinking, right? Because we're interested in the spec and not in the pool itself. And then what we saw here earlier, if we have a component start, we can call spec on it, and that should give us the entire thing. So, theory to practice, if we restart our application, the connection pools should actually reset. We did not do anything for the connection pool to actually reset, so that's interesting. We did a dissociate of it. Maybe it cleans it up. Let's see. We restarted our application and we have data. So beautiful. So our component starts up, and then if we add a table or anything to our system, it will see on the next boot up that it did not have this available, and then it should actually go and create these database entries. I'm wondering if we can, if we push it to the Heroku, or actually well, we can push it to Heroku, I guess. States these. GitLab, it should build, but we can actually short circuit that by just pushing it directly to Heroku. So let's give that a try, maybe it will work. Unstates changes. These are all things that we changed. Commit. No. Unstage. Something else. So there we go. Add PostgreSQL support with C3PO connection pools. Beautifully. And we can push it now, but we can also say, normally it will push to GitLab, but we can say elsewhere and do it to Heroku, which is the default way it works. So now it should actually say something of, in the sense of building application or something. Pushing. Still pushing. It says building app. Retrieving all the data. Exciting, isn't it? Maybe it will actually work in one go. Probably not, because that's IT, right? You try something and you fail. But then you try it again, and then compiling closure script. It will take about 40 seconds. It has been taking for the last couple of deployments. And then when this succeeds, we should actually see that maybe we can say something here. Connections table. So this variable should upgrade, right? Should go to 4. Question answer, and the migrations. So let's see. So it created the first jar, which is the normal standalone, the normal jar, which is the small one, and then it does the Uber jar, the standalone version, which is about 120 megabytes, 125 with the PostgreSQL added dependencies, and it says it's deployed. So I'm curious. There's no log here. Dismiss, maybe we can find some logging. Well, there's actually a Heroku log. No, logs. Oh, it failed. Exception in main, area component migrations. Calling start. See, it actually seems to have done something. It actually says creating schema table, ending migrations, but it says error in component migrations in system stewardship area system map calling start, reason function true exception, function start, system key migrations key. It has a pool. You see that the pool is right here, identity token, blah blah blah, host nil, port this, blah blah blah. Persistent vector cannot be cast to named. And does it actually say where? init schema bang. Alright. So there's something going on the Heroku side of things. So this has failed us now. We have gone into a failed state. I'm wondering what the problem is, right? Because it says here, my greatest database init schema. Bang. And that would be the automatically generated stuff, I guess. Preview migration start migrations line 13. Migrations line 13, which is migrate up, right? Could be this part. Could be this part, but it works on our end of the universe. So what do we have for logging? Let's tail it. Right, app crashed. Yes, we know this. Boop. Connection pool. We can see the connections, I think. If we actually. Please, how do you come to live coding on YouTube and not? Yeah, well, why YouTube and not something else? Well, I tried live coding TV, and on my I was actually planning on using that, and on my first session, it did not work, so that got rid of live coding TV. Twitch. I tried to find out the background information, because what I want to do is be able to download the videos as well, and maybe cut them into more useful things for a wrap-up video or something. And I could not figure out how to do that or find information about it. It's more of a you stream and it's there type thing. And so I ended up doing YouTube, and it works. I guess the most problematic thing is that on live coding TV or Twitch Creative, there's already people interested in programming or streaming creative things lurking around. And so it is harder to actually get people to the channel. But as far as tooling and other parts of the experience, the YouTube works. It just works, and for me that's most important, because I don't want to go around and have to worry about, is my streaming cluster up or not? And when I want to stream, I just want to stream and share. And I don't want to deal with services that are not very mature yet. And Twitch would be a valid option. They actually also launched a programming channel. But if you look at my channel at the moment, we're nearing 50 subscribers in the first 28 days. And that for a very niche channel, I think that's very good uptake. I hope it's many more, of course, but for now it's I'm very happy with it. And YouTube has great statistics, great infrastructure and uptime. And as Martin has been here for, I guess, the most of the shows, right? Yeah, it works. So that's my explanation of why. It's not very, yeah. It's not based on anything else really. So what were we doing? Oh yeah, well, I want to give it another push. Can I just push? Restart. Can I restart it? Restart all dynos. Why not? What will happen? Let's see. Quite curious. If it doesn't work, I will first go for lunch and figure it out. Sure, yeah, sure. But if something else works for you, you should give that a try, right? The thing that me as a content creator, what I like is that I still have control over the videos that I upload. I can download them. YouTube even has this edited thing that you can use to edit your videos. So you should weigh all these things. If you want to go for ease of use, Twitch is also very easy to use. But what can you do with your content afterwards, right? It's very aimed at streaming gaming, which is you stream it and then it's out. And then you do another game, etc., etc. Right. So the component has a pool with a spec, which is exactly what I expect. All right, I do not know what the answer to this is right now. There is something odd going on. Well, I will figure it out. For now, locally it works. Let's see if it still works. Oh, now everything fails. Did everything fail? Everything fails. Oh, that's very interesting. I was fully under the impression that it worked. So, let's see. We're nearing the 2 hours again. For myself and my friends, so I'm grabbing info from people. Yeah. And what do you want to do? Just stream? Or do you want to exchange videos and stuff like that? Doesn't really matter, you can do both. The live coding and Twitch, they have a limited availability of streamed videos. So that's something to take into account. I want to have this available in a year or 2 years even. At least the free plans have a very limited storage. And the more advanced plans where you pay per month, they have extended storage, but still 60 days or a couple of weeks. So, yeah, if you want persistence, YouTube is your friend, I guess. Yeah, so we thought it worked, right? So, go, that works, right? I don't like the C3PO. Let's say that right off the bat. So this works, right? It does the thing that you want, and then we reload it. It works. And then we reload it. At the second reload, it fails. All right, it's something to figure out for next day. Oh yeah, that will be very interesting. I guess you can do that. Theoretically, you can do that if we would start an application on a Docker instance. There's this great presentation by a Google guy called YouTube. The development from Docker. It's a Mark. Development in Docker. Maybe it's in my history. I've been looking at some Casey Neistat videos, right? So don't hate, all right? Because he's got this really cool gold for 1 million subscribers gold play button, which is nice. Drones for the win. If you like drones, look at the DJI Mavic Pro. It's insane. Yeah, this one, Mark Mandel. He has this talk where he posits that your development toolchain should be in Docker, and that your tooling should access your toolchain through SSH and stuff like that. So from you launch your Emacs instance from a Docker toolchain. So you could actually, in theory, create an Amazon or a DigitalOcean Docker instance, then put your environment in there and launch an Emacs server, and then Emacs clients you can spawn to different X servers where you need a tool on your Mac or your Linux. Well, Linux not really, you can just export it. But then you could actually share the same screen, right? That would be quite awesome. Never tried it, but sounds like a good idea. But it's very interesting. He has this very good talk where he has different Java and Lightning versions for his projects. So it says wrap your project into a Docker instance with all the dependencies, and no matter what happens on your machine, as long as you do that, your project will have all its dependencies contained. And so you should be very happy starting a project after a year of not working on it with exactly the same set of circumstances as it was at that time, which is a very good idea. I don't know how practical it is. We should give it a try, but it's a very good idea. Make channel on YouTube with re-uploads, I guess. But that's really add work for you to do. Yes, true. The thing with Twitch is also that most people have this specialized card which does the streaming, and then they grab the stream from that as a video. It's very, it's a lot of work, I guess, right? YouTube, it just works, so why not just use it, right? And they're trying to catch up on the whole live streaming part. So that's they will get it. They have critical mass. They have a lot of people. They have a lot of tooling. So they will actually win. The question becomes if there will be niche areas like live coding TV that will have enough traction for that niche of watching people program or watching them explain how something works. If that will be sustainable enough. Right, and they had this outage like a couple of weeks ago, and nobody could work because one server was down. As I like consistency, I tell people, hey, Friday at 10 a.m. I will be there. Then you cannot say to people, well, sorry, not today, right? You actually make an effort to go there. It greatly changes the entire credibility of a channel if you're there when you say you are, or when you say, well, not today. But there's of course circumstances, but you need to be consistent. I think that will win. So all right, so we're left with our Heroku in shambles, our personal experience not being working quite well, but what we actually did do was to have a good migration. We need to figure out how to consistently apply it, I guess. I will look into that. I think there's probably some cleaning up going on that we need to take care of, but we'll see. For that, I want to wrap up now. It's almost 12, so we've been at it for 2 hours. My 1 hour sessions start to be consistently 2 hours or something more. Next week we will actually use the migration and the data from database to fill our application. We will use HugSQL for this, and then hopefully we'll have some traction, some speed going on. to foobar their terms like the recent change. Yeah, yeah. Martin is referring to the change they did that says foul language, and it basically says if you monetize your channel, which is something I do because I hope at one point I will have enough sustainability to actually do this more. If you do the monetization, they have this rule that says, hey, if you use foul language or sexism or you name it, then we have the right to take away the monetization because it is not good for our advertisers. There's valid points to it, right? But yeah, it's a discussion, right? They throw something in there. There's a lot of reaction. Casey Neistat, everybody has an opinion on it, and in the end, it will sort itself out. Because if YouTube starts losing content creators due to it, they will change because they need the content creators to actually be part of the YouTube experience. The threat there, of course, is that for the smaller creators like myself, I have like compared to Casey Neistat, I have absolutely like my share is like minuscule. You could write it on Atom and it would be too big still. It could be that YouTube says, well, your channel is not good enough, but because this one guy has 5 million subscribers, we will leave him alone, right? I don't think it works that way. I think it will straighten itself out. But yeah, it's still people doing work, right? They decide on something and maybe they will have a good idea. Maybe they have a bad idea. They have many parties to take into account, the advertisers and the content creators and actually the viewer. And all those three need to be happy to have a good product. So you try to make one side happier, it might have a downside on the other two. So, but I'm convinced it will be all good. And if it stops working nicely, well, we change, right? And that's how the human race goes on. We adapt, and same goes for technology. So, all right, people, I will sign off. If you have not done so, click the subscribe button. If you liked it, push a thumbs up. I'm also on Twitter at CREDMP. It's also linked somewhere down there, I think. Offline, I will try to fix this mess of migrations so that next week we will actually have a good starting point again. And then I will wrap it up with a summary video and post it on my blog. So I'm very happy you all were here. Interesting discussion. We should actually have more chat going on, I think. And guys, thank you. And girls, there's actually 2% girls on this chat, so on this series. So that will be great. People, thanks, and see you next week. And now I need to figure out how to shut down the stream with the new tooling, right? They changed the tooling again. Dashboard. There we go. No, not that one. Live room. We need a live room.